Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Timely.
I'm Amber Pacheco.
Oh,
She's a variant. Yes.
We're married now.
wow.
No, I'm Amber Churchill, guys.
AKA Pacheco. And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
I mean, we were going to talk about Loki episode 3, but I think we need to talk about this out of nowhere union between Brittany and Amber.
Yeah.
Like, this is
a day after my actual wedding anniversary, for that matter, too. Really weird.
wow.
It was. It's meant to be.
Wow. What timeline are we in?
I think it happened because I know your guys' names, so I'm just like, okay, you go and then you go and then I go. And so like in my brain, I was hearing your guys' names as you guys were saying it.
Oh,
you
goodness.
threw me off by not saying your name.
Sorry, it happens.
It's okay. We're married. It's fine.
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
I'm glad that I finally got to find out because I do this podcast with y'all and like I found out live on the air. So anyway,
another bridal shower you weren't invited.
So did Brittany. So you're not alone.
Breaking news. We should have like the breaking news tab at the bottom. Anyway, so let's get serious now because we're talking about a season 2, episode 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe series on Disney Plus, Loki. The episode is titled 1893, which I was like, wonder, last week it was called Breaking Brad, which is obviously a play off Breaking Bad. And then I was like, 1893. Before I saw the episode, I was like, oh, well, maybe they're trying to take a bite out of like 1883, which is a show that was talked about on this channel, not by any of us, but it was talked about on this channel. So, but they explained why it's 1893, and I'll let y'all explain to me what you thought of it. Starting with Amber. Amber, what are your thoughts on the episode?
I liked it. I kind of liked episode 2 a little bit more, but I liked it. I liked all of the I guess the setup of everything. But I do have some theories of how I think the show is going and the direction I think it's going. I kind of just based off of what I'm seeing. I liked the little reference to Loki's, I guess, background history with the at the World Fair with the Norse booth. And also like that kind of just makes me think of like other things that we can discuss like later, because with Balder, like how I said before, like it initiating like the Ouroboros, that was the start of the episode, and like that just, it's cyclical. It means things kind of keep on happening. It's a loop. The Ragnarok is a loop, and it's like, and like it starts and ends with because of Loki and Balder. So like in mythology. So I think that was kind of my brain just kind of started thinking, but I liked it overall. What did you guys think?
So I kind of, after the first watch, I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. I don't know what it was that I felt like something was lacking. For me, it took a little bit more to pay attention with this episode than the previous one. I actually really enjoyed Breaking Brad, maybe because of the fact that we got to see old Loki from Avengers and Thor, saw his ways come through again, and the element of Brad being Brad Wolf instead of X5 or whatever. This one, while it obviously is very crucial to the storyline and that of getting a variant of Kang back to the TVA in order to repair the temporal loom, I don't know. It just felt like it dragged. But the performance of Jonathan Majors as Victor Timely, that man can act. Like that much is known. I just felt like there was something lacking in this episode, and I'm probably one of the few who feel that way. I'm not sure. Justin, what were your thoughts on this episode?
No, I disagree with you. I actually really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the episode. I think the show's getting better and better. I think having Loki and Mobius like travel through time on these adventures is kind of what I want out of this show. And I like the aesthetics of this show. I like obviously the visuals. It looks great. But you know me. I like a song every now and then, and I really enjoyed the like old timey piano music with the Marvel Studios intro.
That was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a really like cool way to start off the show. Obviously, we're traveling back to 1868 and then to 1893. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot to talk about. We had a cartoon clock that was like aggressively pursuing Victor Timely. I don't know about y'all. I've never been aggressively pursued by a cartoon clock, and I feel left out, honestly. But
Wow.
yeah, no, I seriously, I don't know.
Noted.
Yeah. And I've always
We'll be
been
right
very
on that.
yeah, I've always like loved like being on time, and that's never just worked out for me. So I know.
Mental note:
I said
what you're
that,
getting
yeah.
for Christmas.
No, but I thought it was a great episode. I thought the way, not to keep harping on Miss Minutes, but the way they used that character in this show was very creative. Like, how she becomes, the ghost clock and scares people away. The way she can change, like, she's like this kind of like orange color, and then she can change to black and white. Like, again, how she wanted Victor Timely to create her body so she could be with Kang and they could rule
Because
together.
that wasn't creepy at all. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I will say that the
We
voice
saw it
of,
coming. I mean,
yeah, the voice of Miss Minutes is Tara Strong, and
Okay.
she does have a body. She's a very attractive woman.
Oh,
So
yes, Timmy Turner is hot. We get it.
what's the
Yes.
reference there?
Tara Strong was the voice of Timmy Turner from The Fairly Odd Parents,
You
which was
didn't
a
know
TV
that?
show. Yeah.
No.
I don't
We
know
looked this up,
actors,
Justin.
and I knew that.
We looked this up, Justin. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, but that wasn't something I'd ever heard of. So
Yeah, she
yeah.
voiced the character Timmy Turner on The Fairly Odd Parents, and she's a very talented voice actress.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and she's been doing
obviously,
it for years. Yeah,
for years. Yeah, she's got a great range, of course. But that surprise element of her being incredibly infatuated with Kang because he created her. All she is an AI, and she kind of airs out the dirty laundry with Victor Timely, who's a variant of Kang, and says, in all of your abilities and all your power, you never took the time to basically make me more than what I could be, and that was basically I could be your girl. As she shifts her image to the face of a mannequin, and I'm like, this is not creepy at all. Also, I love the fact that in Victor Timely's lab, he has all those mannequins, and it's just like a subtle nod to like all the variants of Kang. I don't know if anyone else interpreted it that way, but I certainly did. I thought it was kind of cool that
I did
was
interpret
there.
it that way, but also that one scary level of the Hogwarts Legacy game, like, kind of traumatized me about mannequins.
You're
so
right.
I saw
Oh
the
my
mannequins and I'm
God.
like, no.
Yeah, that was a scary level. It was really
Yeah.
weird.
Anyone who's played Hogwarts Legacy, they'll get it. But
If you know, you know. Justin don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
traumatized
Anyway.
me.
Happy to learn though. Y'all can tell me.
Maybe in a separate pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, let's start from the top of the episode. We see Miss Minutes and Ravonna Renslayer travel to Chicago, 1868, the sacred timeline, to secretly drop the TVA guidebook to a young Victor Timely. Of course, Victor Timely, as Brittany said, is a variant of He Who Remains, and basically, it's a plan that Miss Minutes said that it was He Who Remains' plan to go back in time and start this variant on that path to become, another version of Kang. I'll start with you, Amber. What did you think about, like, first of all, they go back to 1868 and they say it's a sacred timeline, and then when they fast forward to 1893, they say it's a branch timeline. Can you explain why it's that way? Because I didn't get that. I thought, why wouldn't it be the same timeline?
I think I'm blanking. Nexus events, right? That's what
Okay.
causes
Yeah.
them. Okay. I think Renslayer putting the handbook
The book
is what caused a Nexus event.
creative branch. Okay.
So it was originally the Sacred Timeline. that would have been the point. So that would have been a moment where if the TVA was functioning, and as it was before, that would have been pruned. But it wasn't. So, because, everything's in shambles at the moment. So this timeline was able to continue its branch off. So that's what, that is why my explanation as to why I think it was a sacred timeline and now branched.
And I think you're spot on in saying that, because in the previous episode where they get a hit, Casey at the TVA gets a hit on Renslayer's time pad, you can see that the location was off a branched time, right?
Okay.
So I think it's totally just spot on. But the explanation of a Nexus event is interesting because that wasn't supposed to happen in the sacred timeline. And that was going to be one of the questions I posed to everyone was, by going back in time, would that not disrupt that timeline, right? And I know Amber's like really knowledgeable when it comes down to like time travel and time lores and things like that. So happy you're back here. We missed you we miss having you on the pod and your visuals. I know you came prepared today. So with that being said, I figured, okay, but like if they went back in time, I mean, is this like this endless loop kind of thing, or would it disrupt the sacred timeline and then create something new? And I think the explanation Amber gave was brilliant. So
yes.
It's really interesting, to say the least, to figure out about time and stuff like that. So it speaking of time, we got Justin, who's coming to us from a branched timeline.
I branched out, so I'm back.
You're back. It's good. So with that being said, it was really interesting to see that He Who Remains had a backup plan. Like, obviously he knew something was going to happen. His time was going to end. And in order to keep the TVA running, he needed to give the TVA guidebook to his younger self on the sacred timeline, who was already like inventing things and developing things and whatnot. So it was just really interesting for that to transpire.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just curious, because how much did he actually invent and how much was actually already in the TVA handbook that Ouroboros wrote? Because that was his journal. That was his science journal. So how much was actually him? How much was Ouroboros?
Well, and I have something on the Ouroboros and Victor Timely thing. Victor Timely, I noticed a couple of things he said. I mean, he said a lot of interesting things, but there's one part, where he was talking about how, he's basically, he said this kind of in two different ways, but he said, my ideas are ahead of time. He's like, the concepts are bona fide. I just need, this crude technology of this era or of my era to catch up with my visionary mind. And like, they kind of like, that kind of stuck out in my head. And then like later on, he referred to Ouroboros as a visionary. What do you call him? A visionary something. But he used the same word, and I was like, I wonder if that's like on purpose. Like, is Ouroboros, just another variant of Kang?
I think I had suggested that early on.
Yeah, I think you did too.
So, with that being said, coming to the chat. Yeah, coming to the chat right here, we have Rahib joining us. Thank you so much for being back with us. He says, I have a feeling that Renslayer might be He Who Remains' daughter. That is according to Marvel database named Ravonna Renslayer. And if you see Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, you see Kang with her. That is really interesting, the idea that she could be his daughter. I think I'll take it one step further. I think I saw it suggested on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, that Renslayer is a variant of He Who Remains. Either way, they're both a very interesting sort of theory.
I don't like that theory because then it's kind of the same thing as like Loki and Sylvie. You know what I mean?
But it would make sense in a way. Like,
yes,
why does the variant need to stay the same gender or whatnot? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
then you kind of get the old Marvel problem of the bad guy
Yeah,
is just like
because
the good
so
guy.
far
It's just
the
a mirror reflection.
only
Go ahead.
Oh,
Amber?
I think Amber
well, I
might be
was
a
saying that I think
little
it'd be
lagging.
interesting on Brittany's point.
Go ahead. You
I'm
can
gonna
talk.
leave and come back.
We're having some
So-
technical issues for tonight. So we appreciate everybody who's watching right now and bearing with us. To talk about Raheem's question, I just want to say, like, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Brittany, but Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, that's an animated Avengers show that's actually it's available on Disney Plus. I've actually watched parts of the first season. I actually like it quite a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's an animated series. I have not gotten to the part where Kang or Ravonna appear, but
Oh, okay.
that is interesting to note.
Gotcha.
We're
Well, let me
getting
see if I
Amber.
can.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can bring back Amber from backstage. Amber, are you back
She's
with
back.
us?
Am I good?
I think
Hopefully
so.
you're good.
Yeah, I think so. Go for it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think so.
I think on Brittany's point, it would be really cool if she was a variant because of the whole because the only variants that we've seen variety of is Loki. While everyone like the visions that we had of Kang's variants, like that whole auditorium of them in the Council of Kang, they all looked the same, just different outfits and different things. So I think it'd be really, but we know for a fact that variants can look vastly different. So it would be interesting, but I don't really know how on point that is, because I haven't really thought about the variance aspect because I mostly just think about the time aspect, but that's me.
Well, the other thing too is that we've heard a recording from presumably He Who Remains speaking to Ravonna about she is a Marvel and that he was looking forward to working with her, whatever that meant. So at some point, we know that unless that was just kind of to throw you off the scent, at some point, presumably He Who Remains and Ravonna have some sort of alliance, allegiance, but unless she herself has experienced her mind being wiped, much like Ouroboros, Mobius, and things like that, being plucked from the sacred timeline and not recalling anything, we know something of the sort exists, be it the sacred timeline or in a multiverse version of the timeline, right? It's my brain's hurting trying to wrap my head around this, honestly. But it's interesting that at this present time, when Ravonna has gone back into time to deliver the TVA guidebook to a young Victor Timely, she has no recollection of this alliance or allegiance pact, if you will. But Miss Minutes obviously does, because she was the one who helped sort of orchestrate this plan to go into effect to make sure that He Who Remains or a variant of his would come back to the TVA and be back on top. And when that would happen, both Miss Minutes and Ravonna would be right there by his side. But we kind of quickly see that there's an ulterior motive with Miss Minutes with regards to Renslayer being a part of this little trio.
Yeah, she's pretty sassy to Ravonna from jump. Yeah. So you could tell something was going to happen, and then she's like, you can tell she's kind of jealous of Ravonna. Ravonna's an actual physical woman, and
well, she scoffs at the things that Ravonna says to Victor
right.
Timely. Like, yeah, it was me who delivered the book. Like, yeah, this partnership or whatever. And yeah, Miss Minutes is like, I see you. I got other plans, but I see you.
Yeah, she's just a little jelly. It's okay.
A little bit.
So let's get back to with the timeline and everything. So Mobius and Loki, they're tracking Renslayer's Tempad. They end up in 1893, which is of course the title of the episode, at the Chicago World's Fair on the branch timeline. they're trying to find they're trying to find any kind of clues to get to Renslayer or to find, Timely or whoever they're looking for. And we get the moment where Loki discovers statues of Thor, and Odin, and Balder the Brave, which, I don't think a ton of us, MCU fans are that familiar with. I will let Amber tell us more about Balder the Brave. Then I have a little note to mention also. So Amber, take it away.
You can give the Marvel part. I'll give the mythology part.
Okay, why don't you do the mythology, then I'll do the Marvel stuff.
Okay. Well, in the mythology, it's vastly different than the Marvel mythology, but like Loki isn't even brothers with Thor in the original mythology. He's actually like blood brothers with Odin, but either way, he's involved in everything. And Balder is kind of like how Thor is presented to us in Marvel. He's very like the golden child. Mm-hmm. Everyone loves him. Everyone's amazing, whatever. His death would lead to Loki being imprisoned, which Loki being released from his prison is what tricks off Ragnarok. So, but how this all agreed was that Boulder's mom was didn't want anything to happen to him, so went around asking every living thing, plants, creatures, everything, to swear not to harm Balder, and all of them agreed, but she forgot mistletoe. And Loki, they were all they were having a grand old party about it, just chucking things at and shooting things at Balder because it wouldn't harm him. So they were just having a fun little haha, look what happens now moment, and Loki took advantage of a blind Asgardian whose name is I'm sorry, I'm forgetting of it right now, but someone knows it or wants to Google it, let me know. But I know it. It's just not. It's out of my brain right now. Anyway, he tricks a blind fellow Asgardian into shooting an arrow made of mistletoe at Balder and killing Balder. And as a result, Loki was imprisoned, and the whole thing with Ragnarok ends up happening, and I don't want to go into that because that's a very, very long thing. Not doing it. Not right now. But at the end of Ragnarok, the world is destroyed. Most Asgard, everyone's dead. Gods, humans, everyone. 2 humans do survive, restart the human population, and Balder is resurrected. Starts off the Aesir again. And so Balder is resurrected as the new, because he's also the god of light too. So it's kind of like the rising sun over a horrible, awful night. So interesting that Balder and Loki do have a very interesting dynamic. So it was kind of cool that he was the one that was mentioned along with Balder and Thor.
Yeah, definitely. Brittany, were you familiar with Balder the Brave before this episode?
Not at all. I mean, what little I researched for this episode and discovering that there was some sort of animosity towards Loki and Balder and a little bit of what Amber has explained. It's just funny because giving that little tidbit into the show, and obviously Loki was just no one even knows who Balder is, and Mobius is sure, Balder the Brave, this is just common knowledge, duh.
Yeah.
And Loki obviously feeling some type of way about Thor, and he's he's not that tall.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I just like how he sees the statues. He's it's embarrassing. He's it's crass generalization. He's you reduce an entire culture down to a simple diorama. He's such poverty of imagination. The writing on this show is so good.
It's yeah,
it's
it's
excellent.
wonderful.
And then having Tom Hiddleston deliver the lines is like just like perfect. But I did want to mention, I think this is the first reference of Balder the Brave in the MCU. I may be wrong, but I wanted
I think you're right.
want to let y'all know that Balder was actually supposed to be in the MCU in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. He was going to be part of the Illuminati, and he was going to be played by Daniel Craig. It did not happen,
Stop
obviously.
it right now.
Yeah, he was a little bit, yeah. But it got down the road, not obviously far enough, but that was the plan. So
Okay.
anyway.
Well, Raheem here in the chat says that if you have played God of War, you would know him, meaning Balder.
Correct.
That's funny because my husband loves God of War Ragnarok. I think he's played it twice. I think he's still currently playing it. I'm pretty sure he knows who the character is, and I'm going to ask him about it after this pod.
I have not played the game. I'm familiar with both of them. They're very popular PlayStation games, but okay, good to know. Good to know.
On your to-do list.
Yeah, I've got the list is insane.
Yeah.
So let's transition to Victor Timely. This is kind of the point of the episode where we meet him, and he is they see like there's a sign for Victor Timely and his astounding temporal marvels. And I want to note just the name Victor Timely. The reason why they chose Timely is because Marvel Comics, before it was Marvel Comics, they were Timely Comics. So it's kind of a nod to the former name of the company.
Very cool.
So I thought that was kind of cool. But I this is obviously we got one of these scenes was straight, taken from, or was this scene appeared in the post credit for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So we knew this was coming, and we got to this part. We finally get to see Jonathan Majors. Obviously, he has a lot of off-screen issues, but I want to get y'all's thoughts on him. I think he's fantastic. Amber, what are your thoughts on meeting this version of Kang, of He Who Remains? He's this, this industrialist and inventor, but he's kind of a con man, and he has like this hitch in his. He has like a stutter, and he's kind of awkward. What'd you think about Jonathan Majors' portrayal of the character?
I thought he did really well with the portrayal. I liked the slight stammer, but also he knows what he's talking about, and he can and the stammer to me kind of came more as he's thinking too fast to say his words, and so he is intentionally trying to slow himself down. I personally have to do that quite often, so that's how I took it. I thought it was a good performance in the fact that I really felt like this was a variant. But granted, I'm not that familiar with Kang the Conqueror, so other than his He Who Remains era. This to me, I was just like, oh, okay, cool, variant. I did think it was kind of interesting that as his inventions and kind of a con man persona was made when Mobius and Loki first got to the fair, he referenced two people that are vastly different but kind of fit those categories. He mentioned Edison and H.H. Holmes, and I thought that was kind of interesting because Edison was also an inventor and did invent a bunch of things, but also did put his name on a lot of things that wasn't his. Okay. Kind of like how he's putting his name on all of the TVA stuff that Ouroboros read. So I thought that was interesting. And H.H. Holmes was also a con man and a serial killer, but that's beyond the point. But King the Conqueror killed a lot of people too. So
yeah,
it's still on the nose.
On a grander scale, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
Just worlds. I mean, no big deal.
But I just thought that was kind of like an interesting tidbit. So I thought I watched it with Will, and Will didn't catch the names, but I did. And I was just like, that is such a weird combo. What? Mobius, why did you pick those two people? And then, but then as we kind of got through the episode and started seeing more of Victor Timely, I was like, okay, that really developed the character. And highlights his faults, characteristics, traits. I don't know. It kind of defined him really well. So I I thought the performance was really good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, this much I've already said. Jonathan Majors can act. Like, he is a brilliant actor for someone who is roughly my age. I think he's just a tad bit younger. Outside of his off-screen personal life issues that are underway, the man can deliver a performance. And what I really enjoyed about this adaptation of a variant of He Who Remains, vastly different in the sense of He Who Remains and Kang, for that matter, instill some sort of fear into you as the audience. Like, you believe the things that he says will come to pass. Whereas with Victor Timely, because of the brilliant mind, yes, but the fact that he's maybe thinking too fast and his speech can't keep up with it. He is a tad bit awkward. He's unsure, perhaps. And he is just so vastly different from the two other characters that we've met that look just like him, but are obviously not him. And I think that's what really sold me on Jonathan Majors is the range, right? Everything that he's doing is like a masterclass of acting. The performance, the showmanship of him as Victor Timely talking about the temporal loom. And I mean, the man did his research in the sense of how inventors at shows like the World's Fair would present their inventions or their product or whatever the case may be. He did his homework, right? And to me, you feel, for me at least, you feel like you were actually there, like you were in that audience along with Loki and Mobius and everyone else who was in attendance, right? You believed it. He's brilliant when it comes to acting. And I've seen him the only other thing I've seen Jonathan Majors in is Lovecraft Country, and he's wonderful in that show as well. I haven't finished it yet. I haven't seen Creed yet. Still need to watch it. But yeah, the man's got range. And I think you feel a little differently towards Victor Timely compared to that of He Who Remains in Kang. You actually feel some sort of sympathy towards him, or empathy, however you want to interpret it, because it's believed by Sylvie that all of Kang's variants are the same, right? They're all evil. They all have ill intent. And when Victor Timely is like pleading to her, he's like, I'm not like the others, or I'm not who you think I am. I make my own choices and whatnot. And it's just, it kind of echoes Sylvie in a weird way. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting. It's a wonderful performance, like from top to finish. It's so good.
Yeah, I think you can kind of see why maybe Jonathan Majors wanted to take this role, because it kind of shows his range. He can play so many different characters in different ways. So yeah, I thought he was great. That's why I really hope that his, off-screen stuff works itself out and it's not bad. And
they're going to trial. They're going to trial at the end of November. So
hopefully he gets to continue, because he's such a huge part of the MCU going forward. And I mean, one of the movies is literally called Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. So that's the Avengers is a multi-billion-dollar property. So that would be big if they had to recast. But I thought he was fantastic in this role. And I like when he's during the demonstration, he's trying to sell his idea about the power of harnessing the power of light bulbs and lighting up a city or powering the world. And he's like, if it can be dreamed, it can be achieved, because all science is fiction until it's fact. I thought that was a really well delivered line.
That whole bit about if you can dream it, you can achieve it. That's kind of a spoof off something that Walt Disney had said. If you can dream it, you can build it, basically. Which is really a really fun sort of little Easter egg, given that Marvel is a Disney product, if you will. So it's that's kind of a great tie-in. So quickly in the chat, we've got Travis joining us. What's up? How's it going? And Rahib in the chat also says, one of the best part for me was when Renslayer says to Miss Minutes, you don't blend in. And then she changes herself to black and white Mickey Mouse. That was good. Yeah. That I hadn't considered the whole like sort of Mickey Mouse kind of tie-in.
It looked like the old school black and white cartoons. Like it did.
Okay.
Like her eyes even changed to.
Yeah.
I noticed her hands look like Mickey. Yeah, I did notice that part. Yeah.
It's still a little bit ahead of its time when it comes to, you know, Mickey Mouse, of course, but it's a great tie-in. That's a really great observation.
Maybe Walt like got a glimpse of the gigantic like kaiju version of Miss Minutes. Who knows?
God.
The ghost clock. That's what got him. Yeah.
Man.
No, I meant like the giant one.
No, the ghost clock. That's what she became. Was this giant?
I know, but
I got you.
Travis said something.
Oh yeah, Travis. So back in the chat, he says, "I love the main MCU Kang variant. He's just a guy named Nate with no knowledge of what he is. Half the Avengers seeing him as a threat, the rest saying he can't be judged for what he didn't do." Great point. Great point.
Well, yeah, but that's also Sylvie's whole point. You know, like all the variants, really, they just made a different choice. Most of them just made a slightly different choice, and that apparently didn't fly with somebody and King. And
Nexus.
and that kind of just like cycles into why she kind of like let him go when he was begging. Like, I'm not that guy.
Right.
I'm a variant. I wouldn't do that. And she wouldn't have done some of the horrible, awful things that other Lokis have done, but she's also done her fair share of other horrible things. So it's kind of,
it's interpretation.
But maybe the Kang variants don't have the free will that the Loki variants do. You know,
I think more just different motives, because the Kang variants just all have, they're all grabbing for power of some sort.
Yeah.
Regardless of what aspect and how hard they grapple for it, but they're all going for a power. While Lokis are just agents of chaos, literally.
As they should be. Travis here in the chat says, I do find it hilarious that Obi isn't mentioned in the first season, yet everyone is suddenly calling for him now. That's true. That is very true. I thought that was kind of like an interesting way to bring his character in when he wrote the damn guidebook that supposedly is on every single desk of the TVA, and only one person so far that we know has managed to memorize the whole thing, and that's Casey, who we did see in the first season. So it's that is really interesting.
Well, yeah, because so much of their everyday functions of the TVA revolve around his ideas, and if he wrote the book, literally wrote the book on it, you'd think that he would be more involved.
Who wrote the book on the TVA? Sorry. I'm pretty convinced though that Obi is probably a variant of some kind for He Who Remains, right?
Yeah, because he called him a visionary author, and I think the visionary thing, that's something that's high praise. That's like,
yes, it is.
And he already patted himself on the back, and then he said that about Ouroboros. So I mean, I think maybe that's too obvious. Maybe that they're gonna zig where we think they're gonna zag or something. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I'm just, whether he is or isn't a variant, I'm just interested in how he got there.
Yeah.
Because
how everyone got there. If they're plucked from the timeline, I mean,
I guarantee the theory that I am feeling like that this is setting up and what the past episodes are setting up. I think that this is we're approaching the end of the TVA, but it's going to be a Ragnarok situation where the end is the beginning. So I think the end of the TVA is the beginning of another loop. So they're going to have to set in stone. They're going to have to set in place all of the little stepping stones that will lead to all of this happening over and over again.
This is a song that never ends.
Time,
yeah. Travis says, the only reason I don't suspect Obi is we get scenes of him by himself where he shows genuine support of the other heroes. Now, I see that. You make a great valid point. And to kind of support this idea of mine that I believe OB could be a variant is that maybe not all variants share the same end game, right? They're not necessarily all evil. Maybe Victor Timely, for example, won't be the evil person that we see in He Who Remains and Kang, right? Variants differ. That's why they're variants. That's why I'm suggesting that maybe OB, because of the brilliance, things that he's done with the TVA, having written the whole book on it. I mean, that, and what Justin was saying, the visionary author, that takes a brilliant mind. And if He Who Remains was the one who created the TVA, then he needed someone of equal intellect to be able to write the book about it. I don't know. I don't feel that all variants are going to share the same mindset of being evil or not. That's just my 2 cents there. But yeah, we'll have to see. Yesenia here. Everyone gets pruned. Why not OB? I'm sus. Well,
You pose a good question. Yeah.
that's that. I
Well,
don't have
also,
I don't have an answer for that.
How far back does OB's memory go? Because we know that mind wipes happen too.
Mhm.
So, and we do know that like they do have some reference of time passing at the TVA, even though it technically doesn't. Like, you know, Renslayer saying, "I've been doing this for eons," and Mobius being like, "We worked together for how many hundreds of years?" Like
they're aware.
They make they make comments, and like when Mobius and met OB for the first time, you know, he even was kind of like pretending to already have known him, just being like 400 years. Like, so time doesn't really seem to matter to them. So how far back does their memory go? And then how far back does OB's memory go? Has he ever had his memory wiped?
I don't know about wiped, because obviously he couldn't recall some things from the past until Loki had visited him in the past, and it was.
But that's a retroactive occurrence. That's how it.
No, I know, but like it's only when Mobius was talking to OB about the things. Oh, do you have a device that can help with the loom? And he's like, no, yes, you know, kind of. It's like,
but that's because it was.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Because it was technically happening at the same time.
I know.
He didn't have the answers before.
Right.
But then at the same time, Loki is like, well, Loki's giving him the conversation. So he didn't have it like 2 seconds ago. But
it's all confusing.
He didn't have the answer until Loki gave it to him. So
that's true.
That's true. That part is a retroactive occurrence. But I'm just wondering how, because maybe people have read the TVA handbook and they just don't remember because their minds were wiped. Because the memory was wiped, and because OB seems to remember, you know, he obviously wrote the whole thing and he knows so much more than we can even start to assume. But because everyone else has had their minds wiped or their memories wiped, that puts everyone else at a disadvantage to him.
That's true. I mean, I thought it was funny with OB when Loki and Mobius, Casey and no, maybe not Casey, but B-15 were in the room. Of course, OB's all like, we're all gonna die. Like that's just matter of fact. That much we know. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die unless we get the temporal aura of the person who created the loom to come and help fix the thing. But because obviously He Who Remains is dead, they obviously have to go find a variant. The suggestion from Mobius of like, well, can we like troubleshoot, or can we bypass the system? And OB who wrote the book on everything in the TVA, he's all like, oh really? That's great. Like, my dude, you took it too literally. I'm like, you're the brilliant mind here. If that was so simple of a fix, like why couldn't you have figured that out on your own? It was great. I think that was wonderful.
He's a silly, interesting dude. I'm very interested in seeing where his character goes, especially because of the name and where I'm thinking the plot is going. I need answers.
Yeah. Travis here says, since Casey is the one who knows the handbook verbatim, I suspect a time slip will occur. He'll open the book and notice it's altered through time. Maybe. I think now with the end of Victor Timely coming to the TVA with Mobius and Loki and having that TVA guidebook with all his notes and all whatever else he was coming up with. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to have some sort of time slip. Or is he going to be like a double cross? You know what I mean? Like he already knows so much about the TVA. Yeah. I'm very curious as to what will transpire now that he's with Loki and Mobius as TVA.
Or if we're going with my cyclical time, nothing ends theory. What if he does technically double cross everybody, but he fixes it to fall all in place so that he ends up, like, what if Victor Timely is He Who Remains? Is that fair? Like, what if it's not a variant of He Who Remains? That's just because we know it's a Kang variant.
Right.
So what if Victor Timely is...
Well, don't we know who He Who Remains is? Like a scientist from like the 31st century or something, right? Weren't we kind of given that information? Like he's a descendant. He's a descendant of Reed Richards, who is Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, right.
So
I forgot about that.
They haven't cast Mr. Fantastic yet, because I don't think it's going to be John Krasinski whenever the Fantastic Four comes. And which I was going to point out, last week we talked a lot about like what's coming up with Marvel, and of course, there's strikes and there's all kinds of stuff has got stuff delayed. The Fantastic Four movie is supposed to release May 2nd, 2025. Now, the chances of that happening are probably zero because, May of 2024, Deadpool 3 is probably not going to happen. It's going to be pushed back. So, and there's, 4 movies up front of the Fantastic Four before it comes out. So who knows when these movies are going to come out, but there is a tie between He Who Remains and Reed Richards. It's like his great grandson or something. Nathaniel Richards is the name of the character. So
I do recall something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do too. I just completely forgot about that. But Raheeb's most recent comment kind of follows like what I was just saying, because it's how would He Who Remains know that Victor Timely's timeline was the one that survives all of the pruning and the nonsense and the insanity? Because
that's true.
How does he know that? Because
originally the book was given to Victor Timely in the sacred timeline, and when Mobius and Loki and Ravonna are all together again, it's in a branched timeline. So yeah, that is. I mean, he who remains knows all. Like that much, I think, was understood. Yeah. So if he had this plan in place and he knew all the events that would transpire after his death, then he's still in control to some degree. He just needs to have like the chips fall into place in order for him to be resurrected or something. I'm not sure, especially with the fact that when Sylvia arrives at the lab, that she listens to Victor's pleads, lets him go with Loki and Mobius to the TVA. She's left to deal with Renslayer, right? Doesn't kill Renslayer, but uses the He Who Remains little time pad thing, the very ancient looking type device, sends her to the end of time where a decomposing He Who Remains is. And it's kind of like, okay, well, how is she going to get out of that? Like, is the time pad going to allow her to leave that place? Because she is there with Miss Minutes, and Miss Minutes obviously knew how to access the end of time, knew how to get to He Who Remains, right? So it's kind of like, I lost my train of thought, but basically it's just like this was already in motion. Like the sacrifice of maybe he who remains was necessary in order for, like, what Amber's more or less saying is that time is going to repeat itself. It's we're in this like endless loop. I'm not sure if anything what I said just made any sense.
Made sense to me.
I feel like Michael Scott for a little bit. Like I started somewhere and then I don't know where it took me.
I'm
anyway.
telling you, I think that's where we're getting is like the end of the TVA is the beginning of the TVA, and it's just going to cycle through. And he who remain whoever, to Victor Timely, whatever variant of Kang we have right now, whatever variant happens, will fix everything and set everything in motion for it all to happen again. The TVA to go as it was, not knowing about, like, maybe he'll create the animatronics, maybe he'll like set everything up so that the TVA is functioning on their own without knowing about him, and then he goes and hides in his castle at the end of time and waits for Sylvie.
Perhaps. Really quick here in the chat, Travis has said two things. As far as we've seen, I don't think Obi has actually read the book after he's written it, which could explain why it's all gibberish. Obi discovering his work is being altered. That's an interesting theory. That would kind of fall into what Amber was talking about with the how did you put it? The reoccurrence.
Retroactive occurrence.
Retroactive reoccurrence. And also, got ahead of myself. Travis says Obi could be a mind wipe variant of Reed Richards, Kang using his intelligence but taking away his memories. Unlikely, but it could be a neat twist. I agree. That would be rather interesting. And lastly, Rahib says, yeah, I think He Who Remains has some connections with the Watchers, not us Watchers. Let me just clarify that. But the Watchers, if you've watched What If.
Or does he mean the Watcher, singular?
Or the Watcher, probably.
Yeah.
So, well, there are more than one, I think. But
there's one that is highlighted in What If.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So probably connections with the Watcher, because Watcher can see it all and also know how to come back after he's been killed. Perhaps. I have nothing to offer.
It's confusing. Let's just be real. Like,
it's pretty
I like it better when the dudes are in spandex and they're fighting each other, punching and kicking, and like not so much the spandex, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm glad you're clarifying.
You're all about that spandex.
All about that spandex.
Trust me, I'm not.
The muscle padding. Come on.
No, yeah.
Listen, Reed Richards in spandex. I get it.
I would say like capes, but Marvel doesn't have a ton of cape people. You know, that's more of a DC, Superman, Batman, and various other characters. Martian Manhunter. I guess like Mask and just superpowers.
I'm gonna go with Edna Mode and just being like no capes, and Edna Mode's Disney and Pixar, and it just.
I think I could play Edna Mode. I think I could do it. I almost got the hair for it. So
I mean, Loki and Thor originally had capes, and Thor technically kind of still does, but they're short.
Yeah.
And Loki doesn't wear his anymore because he goes to he uses his shapeshifting abilities and wears a TVA uniform.
He's very modern. Yes, he is. So Travis here says it would be awesome if we saw the Watcher's eyes appear in space near the time stream and warn the characters of what's happening.
Yes.
Talk about a interesting twist there. And Rahib says there is one highlight, but there are more in terms of Watchers. And we see them in a cameo with Stan Lee in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. You know what? I do recall that. I do recall that mid-credit scene, post-credit. Either way, I remember. Thanks for pointing that out.
And there is a What If season 2 in the works. So
yes,
we will see the Watcher again.
I haven't watched What If, but I do know that like a very weird crack ship that I was like obsessed with for like maybe 2 months was confirmed canon in it. So I'm
okay.
That's all I know.
It's worth a watch. It's definitely worth a watch, and I really enjoyed watching it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean,
not your favorite thing.
Looking back, it wasn't my favorite, but like compared to what we've gotten lately, like it's fine. I mean, it was entertaining. There was some good stuff. It's it was kind of never. I mean, it is canon, but it's not really. Like it's what if? Like it's what if this happened instead of that? What if T'Challa became Star-Lord? Like the just wacky kind of stories, and they made it all work, but it's not meant to be the mainline MCU canon. So
No, all I know was because way back, like in the first like Thor movie, I don't even remember if this is like post or pre Avengers, like the first Avengers. I don't even know. I just know that a real like random ship that occurred because the characters had never even met was of because we have Thor and we have Jane, but people were shipping Loki with Darcy, and the ship is called Taser Tricks, if you ever want to look that up. But there was like a huge thing about it and thousands of fan fictions about it. And it works really well if the characters were to ever meet. But then
I was going to say that those characters don't interact at all. So
yeah, but if they did, think about it. And
well, that's a what if, yeah.
Exactly. It was a if they did. And I've never watched What If, but apparently something happened with Loki and Darcy in one of the episodes.
Did it? Now there's one about Thor.
I don't know.
I don't remember off the top of my head, truth be told.
I don't know. I think it was his frost giant form.
I remember Loki in frost giant form. Yeah, I do recall that, but I don't remember the Darcy thing.
That was the one. That was the episode was what if Thor was an only child?
Oh gosh,
that's what it was. So.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it was. That's all I know because people were apparently. I still followed people on Tumblr who were really big into Taser Tricks at the time, and so.
You say Taser, and it makes me think of Taser Face from Guardians and how everyone was making fun of the name.
The ship name is because he's a trickster, and she tased Thor like that. So Taser Tricks. It kind of just became that's their ship name. I can't change it.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
But yeah, people were freaking out about it. That's all I know. That's it.
Back to Loki.
I mean, we're still on the topic of Loki, but
yeah.
I'm talking about this episode though.
Yes.
So minus the Taser Tricks, we're back to the episode 1893. So Brittany, you referencing the episode, we see Miss Minutes and she's talking about how she knows a secret about Renslayer. She says, I can tell you, but it's going to make you real angry. Now, I want to get your thought, Brittany, your thoughts, and then Amber, what do you think the secret is? Because I have no clue.
I absolutely feel like it was at that moment. I'm like, what did I miss? Like, I feel like I was missing a bit of information from this episode. Like, was there like a mini episode that happened in between 2 and 3? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I was missing something, and because it came out of left field, right? And this is where Miss Minutes was kind of saying, with regard to He Who Remains, he created me, but he should have known better than to cross me, right? When I know all of his secrets, or I know just like all of the secrets that one would need to know, and then flip it on Renslayer to say, like, I know a really big secret about you, but if I tell you, you're going to get really, really angry about it. And scene. Like, what the heck? Like, I honestly have no idea what the big secret would be, unless it had something to do with Renslayer being a variant, or somehow, as someone in the chat said about her being Kang's daughter or something along. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know what that secret could be in order to trigger that emotion out of Renslayer. No idea whatsoever. Amber, do you have any idea what the big secret could be?
I thought it was something. I think it's something that has, like, in the comics, so people who know the comics would know. Or I thought, honestly, Justin, I thought you were gonna know. I thought you were gonna have answers for us. But
sorry to keep disappointing you.
Going off of
Get
what
used to it.
Brittany was saying, I mean, isn't it that? Yeah, because I saw somewhere that what Travis just said, that Kang and Renslayer will be lovers.
Bound chicka
Um, Yeah, so that was a thing.
Yeah,
I saw somewhere that he because he put her into the timeline so that she's like reincarnated and scattered throughout the timeline. Something similar happens to Doctor Who, and that's a very sad episode. Anyway, trauma. I could see in a way how that would upset her if that's what happened. Like if he did, like whatever version of Kang and Renslayer were lovers, if he tossed her into the
abyss
and he turned her into spaghetti. Because that
spaghetti.
Like from the first episode, because it was saying what would happen to Loki if he got scattered throughout the time. That's the term we're going with now. Is that he would have turned her into spaghetti, not throwing her in the time.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So I like what Travis had to say here. Every Kang variant will end up being like Captain Kirk and just seduce whatever woman they can find. Good God.
Or they can try. You have a lot of confidence in that.
Hey, Chris Hemsworth played Captain Kirk's dad in the J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek movie. So,
did he really?
Yeah, he played. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's the only one of those movies I've seen. I liked it, but I didn't see the other
Same.
movie.
That's the only one I've.
Wow. Really?
That's weird.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
You would think I was such a space nerd. You think I would have watched it?
The way it's shot or the way it's done is like, obviously Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pine are similar age. Who knows? Pine's probably older, honestly.
Very strange.
But the way they did it is like it's like a flashback where you see Captain Kirk's dad, and it's played by Chris Hemsworth. So
that's hilarious.
And I think it was before Thor. I think it happened before Thor. I'm pretty sure it did. So anyway,
wild,
useless,
but
knowledge.
No guesses.
Useless knowledge, indeed.
No guesses of what. Other than that, like I think it might be that, but I don't really know why that would make her angry. Really,
unless she dies.
I mean, the daughter thing could work. That could make sense. Obviously, if they're lovers, I guess that could make sense. But see, that's what I don't like that if it's like if she's a variant of him, because it's just like Loki and Sylvie where they kind of have like a love thing. I mean, right now they have a hate thing going on, but like I don't like when it's like the villain and the hero have the same story. To me, it's like, I mean, it's okay if you do that sometimes, but like let's break the mold. Let's try something different.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. So you don't have any inclination of what that big secret may be, right, Justin?
No,
nothing at all. Okay. Well,
let's that's what I think. My guess is that he threw her in the timeline because I heard that somewhere that happens in the comics, and that would piss her off because he basically spaghettified her. And from how Obi described it, that sounds excruciatingly painful.
Probably so. But let's answer a question here in the chat from Rahib. The main question is, which side is Loki on? Is he good or bad? Hard to tell. Right now, I think Loki's just kind of trying to do whatever he can in order to survive. I don't know if he's necessarily good or bad or, some sort of moral gray being at this point. But I think he's just trying to survive, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Loki's on Loki's side. That's kind of how it is in Norse mythology. That's how it is with this Loki, just survival, his existence, his motives, his goals, whatever outcome will be best for him is what he's going to choose. And I do see him actually really wanting to save the TVA, but I feel like, granted, he does see the reality, like everything, including me, will be destroyed, but it seems very much just like he actually is very kind of genuine. Like he actually does what he feels like he's doing something good. So he's trying to do that and get out of the Loki cycle of they ruin everything.
Well, and that's a good point because Renslayer did mention to Victor Timely about what happened to He Who Remains, and how, you know, two versions of the same person basically killed you, right? And one of them was the guy that was in the Ferris wheel. He's like, oh, but he was trying to protect me. He's been known to, you know, flip. So it's a it's a consistent noted behavior of Loki to flip.
And in the mythology, a lot of the recognizable myths revolving Loki are just Loki fixing problems that Loki caused. So
he does
the fact that
no
that is the
guilt.
Yeah, the fact that that is the crux of the entire show is Loki fixing a problem that a Loki variant caused.
That's fantastic.
Not surprised.
Okay. All right.
Loki's on Loki's side. He's not good or bad. Loki is Loki. He's on Chaos's side.
There you go.
I agree with that. He's the god of mischief for a reason. So I don't think he's evil, but I think you're right. I think he's Loki.
Mischievous.
Yeah. There you go.
Mischievous. We'll go with that. So here in the chat, Rahib asks, can you guys make a video of gameplay of Marvel's Spider-Man 2? Now, I'm not going to speak for my fellow watchers. I don't have that. I don't have that game.
I don't.
So
yeah, it is a PlayStation 5 exclusive game. All three of us do have PlayStation 5s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this Spider-Man series, I have the first game, Spider-Man 2018, which came out. It's on the PS4. They've upscaled it for the PS5. And I actually have the sequel to the game, which is the Miles Morales game. I have not beaten either game. I do like both games. My brother and his sons, they've beaten the games like 10 times over. They have the new one. They got it this past weekend. But I'm avoiding that game until I get to that game. Who knows when that's going to be? Because the story for the first one was spoiled for me online. I know what happens with certain characters.
What have I told you about being online?
There was no avoid. I mean, okay, it's also my fault. Like, the game came out in 2018. We're in 2023. So it's like, you know, whatever. But I don't think we'll ever have I wouldn't say ever, but we're not going to have a video gameplay probably for a while. I don't know that that's on our radar, but we might have a discussion about the story, because that is, I've heard it's pretty crazy, because in the second game, you've got Miles and Peter are playable characters. Venom is a part of it. I know Brittany's not a Spider-Man fan. Amber,
sorry.
Do you have any thoughts on the character Spider-Man?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
I think I do like the Spider-Man movies, but the games, honestly, just I'm so bad at video games, guys. Even if I had the game, you don't want to watch me play it, because I'm bad at video games.
Yeah, and I think
I just am.
I think on that note too, I don't think at this time any of us are really set up to do like gameplay, live streaming, that kind of thing. Not sure if that's something that really we've tested out with, you know, you, the audience, if that's of any interest. It's something we'll definitely keep in mind for future, and maybe when we maybe grow our audience more and maybe get some sponsors. That'd be great.
that would be really cool. I do want to get a cheap plug in. If you do like Spider-Man, and I do like Spider-Man a lot, I did a National Spider-Man Day podcast on this very channel back on August 1st. So go back and check that out. I talked with Rob Felicetti, who is the bass player for Bowling for Soup, which is my favorite band. Rob is a massive Spider-Man fan. He named his kid Peter Parker Felicetti after Spider-Man. Rob is also from Queens, which is where Peter Parker's from. So if you have any interest in the web crawler, go back in our archives, check out our National Spider-Man Day episode. It was one of my favorites. So please do that.
Yeah, I wasn't on the pod. I was running the pod. And as someone who doesn't particularly care for Spider-Man, that was a really good pod. That was a really great discussion between the two of you, being so like in your nerd element. So yeah, definitely go check out the pod. And while you're at doing that, if you haven't done so already, cheap plugin, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. We love the people that are joining us in the chat. We get more every week. It really adds to the show. It's fun to interact with people, and keep the questions and comments coming. We really enjoy it.
Stop, Travis. Travis says, I stopped playing games in like 2013, so I relate. Yeah, I mean, I'm
like
not much of a gamer myself, but
I'm
yeah,
not. The only game I ever played and actually played all the way through is Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts Legacy.
yeah.
That's it.
I got a PS5. Brittany, we got a PS5s like around the same time exactly, like back in like March or something, February, March. And
Yep.
I haven't turned mine on in like 4 months, I don't think. So
Bless your heart.
I still
use mine to watch TV. It is how I stream everything,
Okay.
so I have
Yeah.
to.
Same.
when I have played it, I've enjoyed it. But I'm a sports game player, so like I've still got like NBA 2K23 from last year to play. I've got FIFA, which FIFA is not even called FIFA anymore. Now it's called EA Sports FC. Like it's a different
FIFA.
That's the
Just
soccer game. Yeah. So
Just kidding.
but no, I do want to play the Spider-Man 2 because it looks incredible. It just came out this past weekend, and yeah, it's killing me because I want to know what happens to the story because I know what happens in the first 2 games, and like this is it's a big one, and obviously it's a very popular game. I mean, on the same level as Hogwarts Legacy. It may not sell as many because it's a PlayStation exclusive, but it's yeah, Insomniac is the company that made it, and they are very good at what they do. So we might talk about that at some point. Back to talking about Loki. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that y'all would like to mention?
I think overall, to kind of give you this timeline of it began in the sacred timeline and then we branched. This may not end well, truth be told, right? Like I feel like it's not going to end well for a lot of people, and we're still discovering like a lot of unknowns when it comes down to like Renslayer. Of course, we know very little about Victor Timely, don't know the outcome of him coming to the TVA. Is that going to maybe cause a Nexus event in itself? Because we still are waiting to see the event when Loki, as he was time slipping, he goes into the future and he sees Sylvie in the TVA coming out of the elevator. Like, how close are we getting to that moment? Because I still feel like it's really, really close. It's going to happen probably as like a penultimate that's leading into the finale. I'm not sure. I think the foundation of this going all the way back to the mid to late 1800s and whatnot, I think is truly, truly fascinating.
Yeah, because we are at the halfway point of the season. It's only a 6-episode season, so we're halfway home.
That's crazy.
One thing before we get Amber's thoughts on all this stuff, I want to mention something that we haven't touched on. Is I think it's interesting how Victor Timely doesn't do partnerships. And that point is made twice in this episode. Once after, he's done his demonstration, he's trying to sell his fake invention, and he's presented with a partnership, and he said, "I don't do partnerships." And then later on, when Ravonna is telling him, I hope we have a great partnership, that's when he drops her, double crosses her, goes with Miss Minutes, literally
drops her.
They're on a ferry going from Chicago to Wisconsin because for tax reasons. He does his sales and business in Chicago, but his laboratory is in Wisconsin because it's a better tax rate. It's kind of funny. They're on a ferry heading to Wisconsin, and suddenly she wakes up and she's falling in a dinghy to the water. Amber, what is it with the partnerships? Did you latch onto that, and what are your thoughts?
I kind of just took it as Kang in general.
Yeah,
I don't see him like he seems like a man alone. Literally he who remains. It's not
there you go.
The group who remains. It's not the
two. Yeah, right. The couple who remain.
He seems like a very solo guy. So I think like solidifying that, I guess, cornerstone of his personality makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Ouroboros is the same.
True. I don't want him to be bad. I like him.
I'm not saying he's bad. If he's a variant of Kang, he doesn't have to be bad. I'm just saying he's right. A bit of a loner as well. Anyway, sorry.
But I just kind of a little side note, but also I thought it was weird that while they're on the ferry, they're just chilling in a lifeboat for her to fall asleep in the lifeboat so he can drop her. Like,
He's like,
why are you chilling in a lifeboat?
I mean,
In the first
that's his usual accommodations, apparently. I mean, maybe it doesn't cost him anything if he's just going to be sitting in a lifeboat. I mean, I don't know.
But
that would be a scary way to wake up, though, to fall, you know, what is it, like 15, 20 feet or whatever, in a boat to the water. Like,
well, that feeling of falling asleep that feeling of falling when you're falling asleep is because your heart slows down too fast and your body thinks you're going to die, so it jolts you awake.
I hate that feeling.
Just so you know, that's what's happening. Your heart slowed down too fast and your body freaked out, and so it jolts you awake, and that's why you have that feeling of falling before you wake up. But
the more you know, ding ding ding.
Yeah, so it's a horrible feeling. Nobody likes it.
No,
because you almost died. I think our brains don't like it intentionally. So that would be a horrible way to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I think more so to the point with even Miss Minutes like being aggressive about her affection towards He Who Remains, and also how pissed off she was that he didn't give her a body.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Love bombing.
She could that is the term these days, isn't it? Love bombing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got to watch out for her. Honestly, we really got to watch out for her and any shenanigans she may pull, the secrets that she may reveal. She probably could potentially screw everything up for everyone. She is an AI, all right? She's intelligent in her own right. So see Ultron.
Does Miss Minutes have like a cemented timeline of her own? Do we know, like, is she just never ending?
Sentient artificial intelligence, something or other.
Well, my thought is kind of like if we were to go, like when Loki was going back and forth between different parts in the episode 1, going back and forth between different times of the TVA. If he went into the past of the TVA and talked to Miss Minutes then, would she know what's going on now? Because she's an AI. She doesn't operate on a normal timeline like humans do.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Not sure.
Very good question.
Not sure.
I don't know. Just thoughts. But either way, I think she's evil. I don't like her.
Oh, well, yeah. That much is I think pretty much well agreed upon.
And going to the chat, Brittany, you responded to a question that Raheem had about merch. We actually did have merch our first year. We had Game of Thrones themed Watcher shirts. They were like baseball shirts, like the 3/4 sleeve kind of shirts. But we don't have any more, unfortunately. If we did, we'd send you one, but we don't have any.
Yeah.
But maybe one day we can get back in the merch game. Yeah.
Also, COVID happened, so that was.
It did. And now people don't wear clothes.
Good Lord.
What do you mean? Like, you still have to wear shirts and clothes and stuff. Like, we just,
God, I miss working from home.
You don't have to see me every day. That's.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, going back to the show, here's like kind of my last thing about the episode. We saw that Victor Timely, he's an inventor. And let's are y'all familiar with Shark Tank, the show?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's play a little bit of Shark Tank for ourselves. Which one of Victor Timely's inventions are you investing in? The mechanical trousers?
Listen.
Or hold on. Let me give the other one. There's mechanical trousers or the refrigerator chair. Brittany, go for it.
Is it
when I first saw the middle? Yeah. if it wasn't for the fact that it gave me like Rhodey post Civil War vibes, right? He had to use the mechanical legs in order to be able to walk, right? Yeah. There was some form of paralysis there. If that could make me taller, because your girl is under 5 foot, y'all. Okay.
You're perfect the way you are.
Oh, thank you. I'm under 5 foot, but my personality is as tall as Justin, right? It's 6'2".
You're fun
So-
sized for our convenience.
I'm fun size, exactly.
Well,
I'm
y'all are
vertically-
married now, so that was the
Anyway, no, that would be cool to be tall. However, your girl's also lazy. Once I'm sitting in that recliner, I ain't getting up.
Yep.
So if I could have a chilled beverage of my choice, easily accessible, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
Be a Mexican Coke because it's the best. Had one this morning.
True.
So I don't know. I probably go with the refrigerator chair.
yeah.
I'll invest. I got no
Yeah.
money, but I'll invest.
You've also got a corgi dog that I would probably
Yo.
appreciate the refrigerator chair during the summer because she would be laying near or around it or whatever.
She would.
So yeah.
She would. She does have some feelings when I don't kick up the footrest for her to either jump onto or lie underneath.
Right.
She's a strange dog. Yeah.
So
Yeah, Amber,
Amber's
what are you going for?
I'm going with
Same
the
question.
chair. I'm going with the chair. I was gonna be a little sassy and say I would pick the temporal loom, but
Fair.
I just don't think the science, the logic of it, the temporal loom, as he described it at the fair, didn't really correlate to me. Considering he says that he wants he's turning entropy into power and electricity.
Mm-hmm.
That's just turning order in chaos into order. That's not something that conduces power.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I was just kind of like, the science doesn't science. So I was gonna be sassy, but then I didn't like the explanation that he gave. So chair. I'm going with the refrigerator
Going with the
chair.
I like the chair also, but just to be different, I'm going to say the trousers. Now, I as Brittany said, I'm 6'2", but imagine if I was 6'7" or something, the world would be mine. I would be unstoppable. So I'm rocking.
Dude, if you're like that woman in the meeting today,
oh yeah, she was tall.
I think she was even
That
taller
was-
than you.
Oh yeah, she was definitely taller than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she,
That was
she
wild.
must have been a college basketball player. Of course, none of y'all were there, and no one saw this person. So this is definitely an inside comment. But
And Jimmy was there.
yeah.
That's fine.
right,
Yeah.
I'm rocking the mechanical trousers. Now, do they sound comfortable? No, they
Not
don't
at
sound
all.
comfortable. But
I don't
I'll
know.
give it a shot. Why not?
I like
I'm,
how
I'm
I like
the tallest woman in my family. I'm okay with it. And I
That's
mean,
adorable.
my fella is like a full foot taller than me. I'm 5'4", he's 6'4".
Okay.
I'm the shortest person in his entire family. The only
I'm just the
person who's
shortest person
relatively
ever.
close, the only person who is relatively close in my height was 13 when I met them
Oh,
at a family reunion. But his family are giants. But I'm the tallest woman in my family. The only people
Frost
taller than me are
giants?
the only tallest person in my family is other than me is my brother.
gotcha.
So I'm fine. I don't need to tell.
We have a question here from Raghib. Okay, here is a really interesting question. If you were a TVA agent and you could take a vacation, when and where would you like to go?
Ooh, good
Oh
question.
man,
Good question.
I need time to think.
I need time to think about that too. Time that we don't have because we
I-
do need to wrap this pod.
I'll go ahead and go. I would go back to the 1990s to Chicago, and I would go
Oh, of course
see
you
my
would.
beloved
I
Chicago.
thought you were going to say
Bulls.
when I was born.
No,
That's
stop. That's right. You were born in like 96, 7,
96.
4.
94.
sorry,
Okay. Okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I
Almost
would-
exactly halfway.
I probably would venture back before you're born. I'd probably early 90s, and I would be in Chicago, the rise of like Michael Jordan and everything. I think I would probably want to experience that in person. I watched it on TV as a kid growing up. I think that'd be cool. I mean, it's not really a vacation spot, although Chicago in the summer apparently is a great town. I've never been, but
Maybe back then. I don't know about now.
well, I mean, we live in Houston, Brittany. Like, there's bad parts of
That's
Houston
very true.
also. Yeah. So, does anybody else have an answer?
I can tell you probably like where I want to go on vacation. I couldn't tell you like time period that I want to go. I've been very fortunate enough to travel to Europe a couple of times. There are parts of Europe that I have not been able to visit. So I definitely more places in Europe. If I could just, hit up at every spot using that time door, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I just, like I said, I can't give you because I feel like if I were to say, let me go back during the era of Caesar, that's not going to end well.
No.
I feel like all the places that would be really fascinating are times of pure
Chaos.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. And I'd rather not be a part of that. I really, really honestly wouldn't.
Fair.
I would probably pick, because I have a huge love and interest of mythology and stories from various cultures all over the world. So I was thinking of a lot of ruins and things that I would like to see, like back when they were fully in construction, especially in Greece and Italy, because that's my primary love. But because you were talking about like time frames and catastrophes happening, that made me think I want to go like the Tuesday before the Library of Alexandria burned. Take me a random Tuesday before that happened, so I could just have a nice relaxing day and explore and learn things that are going to burn down in a week.
Yeah.
Random Tuesday before the Library of Alexandria was burnt down.
Man.
For MCU purposes, I'll tell you where I wouldn't go. Sokovia. I wouldn't vacation in Sokovia. So
that's fantastic.
Hey, if we're going with MCU, then can I go to Asgard?
There you go. Well, also not a great place. Depending on when you go.
It's not a great place. It's just so pretty and shiny.
Well, it doesn't, spoiler alert, it doesn't make it too long. It doesn't last forever. There's New Asgard, which is.
But it's pretty.
Yeah.
And depending on what time I go there.
There you go. Good
there
point.
are two pretty princes there.
Good point. Okay.
All right. I can narrow it down. Wherever Dean Winchester is, that's where I want to be. Has nothing to do with the
now
MCU.
We're just universe hopping.
That's fine by me.
That's a supernatural reference, which they are both watching right now. Yeah.
Hey, if we're universe hopping, I want to go wherever and whenever the Doctor is in Doctor Who.
Yes, I know.
Because that's a time travel show and a sci-fi show, so they're wherever and whenever, because they can go all over different planets and
the answer is yes.
Universe. Yeah, somewhere.
The answer is yes.
Just plot me in that.
Yep,
and I'll be good.
All right, we do have to wrap up, but one last question from Rahib. Do you guys have time tomorrow to make a watch party for tomorrow's Loki episode? Unfortunately, we are not available to do such a wonderful idea. We have talked about doing a watch party over on Discord, something we're still exploring, something we're trying to air out and get our fellow watchers to participate, because it's more than just the three of us. We've got Frank, George, Tristan, Marcy, Nathan sometimes. It's been a while since Nathan's been with us, but yeah, there are a lot more watchers than just Drew. Yeah. Our brother from the north. Yeah. Yep. He's popped up here a few times. So yeah, unfortunately we are not available on Thursdays to do a watch party, but maybe one day in the future when again we have a bigger audience and we have sponsors and we can do this full time. That'll happen.
That would be I'll honestly, like, that's our goal, is to do this as our job. That would be amazing.
That'd be cool.
And
that'd be cool.
I do want to, before we get here, Brittany, Travis had a comment I wanted to get to about the thinking too far ahead.
Yep.
Talking about Secret Wars. So there's this new book that came out about 2 weeks ago. It's called MCU: The Reign of Marvel Studios.
The Rise.
It's already. It's killing it. Obviously, a lot of people think it's like the rise and fall now, but I don't think it's. It's still
definitely not.
Still up there. Anyway, in the book, like, I haven't finished. I have the book. I've only read 100 pages or so. It's a phenomenal book. I love it. They worked their way through the history of the MCU. I just got past the Hulk movie, so that's the second movie in the MCU. So you can tell how far back I am. But it's a page turner, great great source for information if you care about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But there's news that has come out of that book, and one of the things that came out of that book is the fact that Kevin Feige, obviously the head of Marvel Studios, has said that he envisions Avengers Secret Wars, which right now is slated to come out in 2027, May of 2027. Again, I don't believe that'll happen. It'll probably be a year or two later than that. But the plan for Secret Wars is to be a soft reboot of the MCU, meaning you could have Iron Man come back and maybe it's a different person, or you could,
anybody
I think
but Tom Cruise.
Honestly, I think everything's on the table. I think some things that we're going to see for sure. I think we're going to see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in this movie. There's been a lot of talk about that. Now, obviously, we saw him in Far From Home, or I'm sorry, for No Way Home, but there's a good chance we'll see Wolverine again, which we're going to see him in Deadpool 3, hopefully the next couple of years. And I say Wolverine, I mean Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. So
Yes.
I think to answer your question, Travis, and not really answer it, but to kind of just vaguely answer it, I think everything is on the table. And who knows? Like by then, we're talking that could be 5-6 years from now. Who knows what? Maybe everyone hates the MCU and it's over. But hopefully not. Hopefully, well, people are pretty down on superhero stuff. I mean, let's be honest. Like, even this show, which I think is pretty great, there's a lot of negative comments out there. I've heard people compare this to Obi-Wan, the Disney Plus Star Wars show, which Brittany and I both
we don't talk about that.
Openly hated that show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oof.
Secret Wars is going to be special whenever it happens. Hopefully, it happens in our lifetimes. That's all I care about. That's not all I care about, but that's one of the things I care about.
Jesus.
Sorry, let me clarify that.
God.
So, anyway, do y'all have any closing thoughts on the episode before we get out of here? Go to Amber first.
No, I like this episode, but I'm kind of like in the middle between you guys, where like Brittany was kind of like not really her favorite episode and you really, really liked it. I'm like smack in the middle. I see why. I didn't hate it. I liked it. I just didn't like it as much as the second one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked it.
pretty much what Amber said. I feel like I've been saying this consistently since the premiere of Loki. I feel like it's better on the rewatch. This episode it was a miss for me. The addition of finally seeing Jonathan Majors as Victor Timely was wonderful. I figured we were going to see him either halfway or like 3/4 through the season, so that was a plus. However, it doesn't rank high for me right now. I think episode 2 is probably the 2 and 1 are probably interchangeable in the instance of ranking the highest, but episode 3 for me is at the bottom right now.
Okay. Yeah, for me, like I said, I think it keeps getting better and better, and I expect that to continue for the final 3 episodes of the season. I think the best is yet to come for this show. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'm interested to see how it plays out. So please make plans to join us. We have 3 more episodes of Loki to break down. And it's always great to have Amber on board when the TVA allows her to, which today it happened.
Yay!
But Amber
that was just a one-time thing, I promise.
Right. But Amber's not just an expert about mythology and Greek mythology and Loki and Norse mythology and all kinds of mythology. She also has a wonderful YouTube channel. And
she does.
Amber, why don't you plug that while we're getting out of here?
You stole my pun.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I allow it. I have if you like Harry Potter or the Wizarding World in general, I have a channel called OllivAmber's Wands. It's a study of wands and wand lore throughout the Wizarding World. So I go into the cultural, historical, and symbolic meaning of the wood that the wand is made from and the magical beast that the core is derived from, and we compare those facts and descriptions of the wand. I get the wand's character, and we analyze it to the character, see how well it fits. And it's very fun time. But yeah, we talk about wands. I'm a wand weirdo. So
We love you for it
Yeah,
regardless.
you're our wand
Thank
weirdo, though. So we're
No.
happy to have you on the show. Brittany, you want to plug anything besides our own stuff?
No, I think we got to get out of here, y'all. So
Let's go.
I'm going to go ahead and just wrap. So we appreciate those who have joined us in today's live stream. We really always love having your comments, your questions. It just helps with engagement, and it's really just fun to chat with y'all. So thank you to Rahib, Travis, Yesenia for joining us for today's pod. And we encourage everyone who's watching the replay to join us for our future live stream. So you can do that by subscribing to this YouTube channel, hitting that notification bell, and also hitting that like button. It really helps us out, grow our audience. We are on the road to 300 subscribers before the end of 2023. We're currently at 283. So tell your people, tell your variants all about us. We appreciate you and them being a part of this Watchers network here. So you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Threads at Watchers Basement. You can send us articles, memes, things that you want us to check out, and you can do that using the hashtag Watchers Basement. That is how you can get in touch with us the fastest way. It also helps grow our audience. And if you're not into the video podcast, we've got you covered with audio podcasts available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Be sure to follow us on all those platforms and give us a 5-star rating.
Yes, please do that. Thank you, Brittany. So for Brittany, for Amber, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.